Who I am is very much a musician. This has been that way, I guess, since I was 4 years old and I heard music for the very first time in my school. But I wasn't immediately taken with the piano. While I wanted to learn the piano and I started playing by ear, I also played a lot of different instruments. I loved the clarinet, and in fact at one point I seriously thought I might be a clarinetist. I played in a jazz band, in a youth orchestra. I was principal clarinet, in fact, of the Belfast Youth Orchestra. I also played the cello, played the timps, and I conducted choirs and orchestras. So I did a whole ton of stuff right up to the age of about 16. So I consider myself a musician, but then after the age of 16, I concentrated more on the piano because I had a chance meeting. It was through my father meeting an old friend of his who said, your son should go and meet this woman called Felicitas Lewinter, who was a wonderful pianist and teacher. She had been a pupil of a pupil of Liszt. Her teacher had been Emil von Sauer, one of Liszt's last pupils. And she gave me a whole series of lessons and inspired me to really concentrate on the piano. So I started practicing furiously at the age of 16, which is totally far too late, because normally the pianists of today, I mean, they've been playing Liszt studies at the age of 1. So, I mean, at 16 was just, I was over the hill. I was very lucky. That all worked out very well because I had a whole series of wonderful teachers and I worked very, very hard. And so I became, I guess, a pianist. So I was, I guess, 3.5, 4 when I started playing the piano. We didn't have a piano at home in Belfast, and the neighbours were talking to my mother and they said, we have a piano we want to get rid of. So they gave us their old piano. So I started playing by ear. Even then my mother said, oh, this is probably just a passing whim from a 4-year-old. So she didn't find me a teacher immediately. So for 1 year I learned the piano myself, and I was able to play the piano immediately for some reason. You know, it's just one of those kind of quirky things, I guess. And I loved it, and anything I heard I could play. And then I had my first teacher who was a composer. He played the piano, but he was really primarily a composer. So all of my life has been kind of upside down in terms of learning music and being taught. But it's actually been very good because he was so amazingly broad in his scope of what music is about and what the piano even is about, because the piano for him was a vehicle to perform music and not just a kind of a technical thing where you had to learn your scales. So from the word go, from the age of 5, I had that breadth of vision, which was given to me, inspired by others, which I think has stood me in good stead. I would get up at 5, 6 in the morning before school, practice for 2 hours. I would practice during school. The school was very understanding. They let me off games and religious studies and all the things that were not in the kind of exam syllabus, so I could practice. I learned to play the organ, and I used to play for their assemblies and carol services and stuff. And that's why I got into choirs as well, conducting choirs. And I had my first job as an organist and choir master when I was 12. So it was very funny, you know, this grown-up, you know, quite elderly choir looking at me, a 12-year-old. I used to think to myself, they must feel very, very strange at 12-year-olds giving them orders. But it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot very quickly. One of the next big things, or certainly one of the biggest things in my life, was winning the gold medal in the Tchaikovsky piano competition in 1986. For me, it was totally overwhelming. I mean, first of all, to be there was overwhelming. And in fact, up until 2 weeks before, I wasn't sure if I really wanted to go because it was so much stress. I'd won some prizes before, for instance, Van Cliburn competition in America. And so my career was beginning to develop. and I didn't know, do I really need another competition? And so I decided to go anyway. And I thought I played okay in the first round. And then this woman came to me. She was one of the translators for the violin competition, because in the Tchaikovsky they have 4 competitions: piano, violin, cello, and voice. And she said, "I want you to get me tickets for the final." I said, "What do you mean? I've just played the first round." "Oh, I saw your marks, you're the top." So I said, maybe I have a chance. So anyway, I went on and I won it, and I knew how big it was because the militia were escorting me around Moscow, so I knew that it must be pretty important. And my hotel room was full of flowers. So it wasn't just that. That was fabulous, of course, to have that attention, but it was the fact that, you know, I was just invited everywhere after that. Well, it was the summer of 1998. A couple of guys from the Ulster Orchestra approached me about doing a concert for, I think it was Mercedes or a big car company in Belfast. It was going to be a recital. And then we had the idea, maybe we should get a group of musicians together and make a small chamber orchestra concert. And then it didn't happen for some reason, can't remember why. And then I had the idea, because at that time Northern Ireland had a pretty good chance of having a chance for peace. And people were reaching out to each other, and I thought, wouldn't it be marvellous to have an all-Ireland orchestra? Just because music has always been a fantastic healer in terms of reaching out. It's a universal language, people can relate to each other. And even growing up in Belfast, in the youth orchestra that I played in and the bands I played in, you know, you'd have people from all communities come together. The children would just come together and they would play music together. So I knew it was possible. But it wasn't a really overtly political stance I was taking, although I'm very in favour that Irish people have so much in common and can work together. So I had this idea, well, why don't we form a chamber orchestra, which is really wonderful, which gives an opportunity for new young musicians to play together, because a lot of the Irish young musicians, they come to England or Scotland, or they go up further, maybe to America or somewhere in Europe, study, and they don't come back because there aren't the jobs. And I thought, well, that's a shame, because there's a kind of an Irish music diaspora. So I want to get these guys together and make great music and travel the world. And so I had a friend who was on the board of Cooperation Ireland, who'd done great work, charity work, north and south, and helped kids from disadvantaged areas. And so we did this kind of joint launch. So Cooperation Ireland, Camerata Ireland. And it was the kind of message I wanted to send out. It was non-political, non-sectarian, it was harmonising, it was creative, it was positive, it was the new era of Ireland, it was young people, and so it was all of those things. What I didn't bargain on was that it was going to become so kind of enthusiastic and successful so quickly. And in fact, you know, the tours just landed on the doormat all the time. And we went off to America immediately in May of 2000 to Gene Kennedy Smith's festival in the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. And then we went straight to South America for a major 3-week tour that summer. And it just happened like that all the time. It's very important that our musicians are from all parts of Ireland. I mean, I myself, my mother was from the Republic of Ireland. Well, in those days it had just been the Free State. It was formed the Free State of Southern Ireland. And my father was from the north of Ireland, from Belfast. And so it's very much in my blood, this feeling that, you know, we're Irish people. And I like to think that we are Irish, we're from the British Isles, and we're European. Those 3 things are very important to me. So I make sure that we're not favouring one part of the island over the other. That's really important. I've learned so much from all my collaborations, even from the conductors who are not good, even from the conductors who are not nice, and there are many of them. I've learned so much. I've learned how not to do stuff, and often that's a better education than being with someone who is totally great in terms of their ability, their vision, their humanity, and you learn a lot from them too, of course. So I've stored up all that knowledge, and I'm developing, of course, all the time. I have my own style of communicating with the orchestra. But also I've had two wonderful friends who are conductors, Marek Janowski and Jerzy Semkov, who have given me a lot of help, especially in the early days, with scores and difficulties in certain interpretations. And when I'm with conductors, I love that we can have a bit of shop talk. So it's, you know, it's like me as a pianist also. I mean, I never stop learning. I'm developing all the time. But the piano vis-a-vis the orchestra, you know, there's not much difference. When I'm a pianist, I'm in control of everything. I'm in control in the right way, in terms of the interpretation, in terms of the vision, in terms of creativity, in terms of performance, in terms of emotion. It's the same with the orchestra, right? You've got to talk. I don't talk to the piano. I don't need to, because it's through the fingers. So I talk to the orchestra, but it's the same kind of principle. I'm still making music. It's just a bigger instrument. It's an incredible instrument, the orchestra. Where it's really fascinating also is to do piano concertos from the keyboard, because you can really make a homogeneous, unified interpretation, which really is much more focused. Not that it's better than with a conductor, but it gives you a chance to really make all the elements blend together and to mirror each other in a much more effective way. I still adore working with conductors, of course, and in the big romantic repertoire, in 20th century, 21st century repertoire, of course you need a conductor. In general, if they're big pieces, you can't do it from the piano. But it's just, it's an amazing instrument, the orchestra. I love it. I've learned to shut up more and to play, let them play. I think this is important. I think you can achieve a lot by just playing. Even if you play large chunks and it's not all right immediately, it doesn't matter, because it's a kind of a getting to know each other, getting to find the sound. And in some respects, finding the right sound is 80%. Once you have the right sound, the other things will flow from that. I'm going to be playing a lot of Liszt. It's the 200th anniversary of Liszt's birth, so I'm very excited to be going back to the London Symphony Orchestra, 6th of January, to play the second piano concerto of Liszt. I'm starting a new recording project with Chandos Records. We're going to record all the Brahms solo works and Schubert solo works. Many years for this project. What else? I'm very excited that Kevin Volans, fabulous composer who has lived in Ireland for a very long time. He was actually born in South Africa. He's writing a new piano concerto for me, and we're going to do that at the Proms in August 2011. Continuing my festivals, we've got some big, bold themes this year. In Clandeboy in August, it's going to be based around the influence of Liszt, right from Czerny through to the people that Liszt influenced and helped, such as Berlioz. Castletown in September is based around East meets West. We have Chinese and Japanese music. And so we've got some big, bold themes this year. In terms of, I'm doing recitals and concerts with orchestra, a lot of travel, conducting, so I'm very excited. So in 2011, Camerata Ireland is going back to the US for a major tour in March. We're very excited. We're going to start off in Carnegie in New York and finish up in Florida, in Sarasota. We're going to bring a wonderful, talented Irish soprano with us, Cillian Byrne. She's going to sing some Mozart, and also I've made some arrangements of Irish music that we will do together with the piano. I've also made an arrangement of 2 field nocturnes for piano and orchestra. And we're going to do Mozart, a symphony number 40, and the piano concerto number 23 in A. So it should be a lot of fun.
you.